Today, in this video, I am going to show you how to wedge, how to roll out a slab, and how to make a slump bowl or a slump plate. So we will all need to learn how to do these first two things. Some of you will do a slump bowl as your choice, some of you will do a slump plate as your choice. But all of these are going to be essential tools for you to use. So, you're going to start out with clay that looks a lot like this. And I'm going to hand this to you from our container, and you are going to wedge it. So in order to wedge it, you're going to keep your hands like this, kind of in a eagle, butterfly kind of shape. And you are going to use most of the power from this part of your palm. So this part of your thumb, you're going to do the majority of the work. So in order to make this nice and homogeneous and together and compact, we need to wedge it. We want to get rid of our air pockets. So first thing you're going to do probably is flatten it out and make it just to where it's able to be pressed with our hands like this. So first you're going to make a press. It's going to look something like that. Then you're going to flip it on its side, do an additional press, flip it on its side, press, flip it on its side, press. Okay? And that's kind of how you start out. When you get to a point where it is a little bit longer this direction, you're going to flip it back on its head and repeat the process. Now, eventually you're going to get really fast at this, but to start out, the only thing I'm really expecting you to do is make a single press, just like this, and roll it back on its side. Now, one of the main mistakes people are going to make is they are going to push with their hands too far forward or too far down. So essentially, you need to be at a 45-degree angle. So when you are pressing, my hands are pressing down and forward at a 45-degree angle. Okay? So make that press and push forward. You're actually going to use a little bit of your core here. And there's not a set time that you are expected to do this, but I typically do it until I feel the clay responding a lot better to the wedging. So right now it's already starting to respond well because it's all starting to become more compact. Once your clay is nice and wedged, you're going to pack it into a ball, and you're going to use most of the force with your left hand and kind of pack it into your right hand. And if you're left-handed, it's the reverse. So I'm kind of just throwing it back and forth. And I'm going to try and smooth out some of these marks here. At this point, you will have a pretty perfect ball without any marks on it. That's going to save you a lot of trouble in the long run. So try to make sure you get rid of those little cracks before it gets too much. Okay? Then you're going to kind of pack it with your hands. Pinch these sides, so I'm kind of pinching right here on my edges, and I'm rotating my clay to make kind of a disc. So it should look something like this. Okay? You are going to apply a little bit of pressure. This is the point that a lot of people are going to want to hammer it really hard. We're not going to do that. At this point, you should be able to start rolling out your slab. Now, you guys will either have dowels that look like this, or you will have a couple of paint sticks that are taped together that look like this. You're going to put the dowels a little bit outside of the edges of your little pancake. And you're going to take your roller and you are going to roll in multiple directions until it stops and hits these dowels. A lot of times you're going to want to rotate your dowels or your paint sticks so that you can get even coverage from multiple angles. The best idea is to roll out your slab to where it is kind of like a pancake shape rather than having it oblong or ovular in one direction. You have your slab rolled out, it's all even thickness. We do want to compress the surface a little bit further, so you will take a metal rib and just slowly swipe it on top. And that's going to get rid of some air pockets for us, especially if you have started to get those. And it should look something like that. If you choose to do a bowl, now this one is a lot bigger than the bowls that you guys are going to use, but the process is the same. The first thing you're going to do is cover that on the bottom, so this would be the top of the bowl, bottom of the bowl. You're going to cover the entire surface with Vaseline. So this is about as thick as your application needs to be. It does not need to be too thick. It just needs to cover all surfaces. You are going to lay your slab on top of your surface. So this will also apply if you are using a plate. So you would put it on upside down, lay your slab on top, just like that, okay? Now, mine especially has a couple of sides that are a little bit shorter, so I'm going to try and pull those over. And you are just going to wrap and compress your slab around the surface of your bowl. Make sure that you get rid of any cracks before they become too permanent, and just use your finger and swipe them away. Once you have got your slab wrapped tightly around your bowl and you feel comfortable that it is stuck to it and wrapped in a proper way to where all of the sides are even, you're going to take a wooden knife. You can also use a needle tool, but if you are using a needle tool, be very careful of the mat that is underneath. You're going to take your knife right along the edge and you're going to slice it off. So I'm going to start at the back and I'm going to pull it in front slowly. And I would take piece by piece and just kind of lay it down. And I would start wider and slowly go in thinner. Sometimes it might be beneficial to continue to do this first step where you are cleaning up the edges as you are going along. At some point, you are going to flip it over. It's going to look something like this. If there are sides, like mine, that are a little bit thinner and sides that are a little bit thicker, that is okay. You can either cut off a little bit of that and trim it. You can add a little bit of clay to the areas that are a little thinner, so I would maybe put a coil here.
A coil here.
If you have clay that is a little bit thick and you have pulled it up the side, I would take your needle tool and go around the edge and kind of remove some of that excess. You should be able to put it on your wear board, wrap it in plastic. Oh, I'm missing one thing. So, at this stage, this is one of the times I will remind you to put your name on it. So right here is essentially the general template that you guys will use. This is a little bit smaller. It's going to be a little bit easier to do in a class period. And it will turn out about this size. So this one's a little bit smaller. I didn't use this template, but this one has exactly what you need. So it has texture, additions, and it has a name on it. So you may end up deciding that you want to have something like this that you just want to eat cereal out of. Maybe you use this as a decorative bowl, but it is still utilitarian because you can put something in this and use it. You may decide that you want to use the bowl as a stepping off point for something adjacent to a sculpture. So that is all up to you. Just keep in mind you need additions and texture.